My people, a couple of months ago, I asked myself, what would an obstacle course look like in Stardew Valley? And so that's what I set out to answer. I created a custom Stardew Valley farm that tests all sorts of mechanical skill in Stardew Valley, and I put the challenge out to all of my subscribers, and I just said whoever has the lowest time by the end of this is the winner. So today we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna look at what was 2 weeks of people grinding out my custom obstacle course, and they broke it beyond what I could have ever imagined that they would have done, optimized it beyond belief. Let's just check it out. All right, so first off, I just want to show you guys the actual farm that I was working on and what this obstacle course looks like. So the first thing that you have to do is go through here and navigate all these tight turns while trying not to bump into anything, unlike what I'm doing right now. You'll also see a bunch of these crystallariums throughout the speedrun obstacle course. And to make sure that people didn't skip too much of a certain section at once, I made it a requirement that you ended up having to finish with all of the gems in your inventory when you were done, or else your time wouldn't count. So you can see this section here is like a combination of hopping in and out of chairs and picking them up, and then once you're done with them, you can put them down to clear your inventory up. Then you come down to this section, and this section you were supposed to decide out of these 4 routes which the fastest one was. And so you could choose to go through this way with a bunch of gates in your way, which is the shortest path. Along the way, you'd pick up one of these 2 rubies, and then as you come through here, then this section right here was meant literally just to be annoying, where there's hidden things in your way. They literally just get in your way. And then as you make your way through this part and bump into all these arcade machines, you run up here, grab the jade, and then all of these chests have one little thing inside of them. And so the idea is to, while holding nothing in your hand, if you spam click through a chest, it hops out of the way. Then you grab this amethyst, and then in this chest, you get an axe and a pickaxe. And then you're supposed to switch back and forth between using an axe to chop down the wood fences and using a pickaxe to chop down the metal fences. And some of the fences had little torches on them so that you would have to hit them twice, which I was hoping would mess up people's rhythm as they did it. Then you run right here and you grab this little diamond, and then your time stops as soon as you make it to the bus stop, and it says, yay! That was the intended way to solve it. People ended up breaking it beyond anything I could have imagined. The first one was okay. It was by a guy named Ping, and he scored a time of 1 minute and 38 seconds. You can see he really pretty much did everything as intended. But it didn't take very long for people to figure out a couple of nifty tricks, like Angry Goose, who ended up lowering the time to 1 minute and 19 seconds. So one way he was able to optimize this was he realized there's a glitch where when you ride a horse while you're going up and down, you can phase through fences. And so he used that to get to the ruby faster than you would have by walking the normal path. Also, you could tell from my example run that I just did, at the end, it gets a little tricky when there's chests in each other's way and they kind of mess up. So what Angry Goose did at the end here was he took out the one wood fence that was in the chest, and then when he spam clicked it, instead of it hopping to a new location, it just destroyed itself, which helped him to get through that section quicker. So his initial time was a 1:19, but he eventually ended up bringing it down to a 1 minute and 9 second time. But a guy by the name of Volpic ended up taking that horse glitch one step further. So he did the same thing Angry Goose did to get the ruby early, but then he actually realized there's nothing in between the ruby in the bottom left and the jade in the bottom right that you have to get. So what he ended up doing was the same thing as Angry Goose for the ruby, but then he went up and around the entire section with all the arcade machines that you had to navigate through, and went for the jade from the top down. He ended up phasing through the fences at the very top of all the chests, and then realized all of these on the right are end tables, and so he picked them up and then stacked them on top of each other and got the jade from the right side. And although his final time was 1 minute and 18 seconds, this was still way faster than anything anyone had done before. Now, a guy by the name of Mr. Laserman was the next person who tied Angry Goose's record, but he used 2 new strategies that no one had done before. In the beginning, he spam clicked through the crates so that he could skip the long path and go right to the emerald sooner. Also at the end, you can see he went around the left side of all of the different fences that you were supposed to break through with the axe and the pickaxe. Now, we later found out that this method was slower, but I was already beginning to be blown away by the strategies that everyone was coming up with. Angry Goose soon proved that going through the fences was actually faster after he got a time of 1 minute and 4 seconds with some clean animation canceling. Around the same time, a guy by the name of Zlaze, yes, it's the guy from my crab game video if you watch that, entered the battle, and he got a time of 1 minute and 1 second. But just as people were starting to be on the cusp of a sub 1 minute run, a new challenger entered. Blade. Blade had discovered something that I planted in the game long ago. Hidden on the map, the same map everyone had been running this entire time, there was a secret hidden in the bottom right. A chest containing a spicy eel, a secret speed boost that was immediately ignored because it was way slower than just going and getting the jade from the top. I was really sad. I thought it would be really fun to like drop a little surprise halfway through. No one cared about my spicy eel. Anyway, after this, there was a whole brainstorming session of a lot of strategy, people going back and forth. It was more of a collective effort to get the time below 1 minute than it was a competition between rivals. But Zlaze was the very first person to crack the sub 1 minute time, proving that it was possible after all. But speaking of possible, someone actually created a task for this run. A guy by the name of Vulpic played the game at 1/5 of its normal speed and got essentially perfect human inputs. And if you did the strategies that everyone was already doing and just did them perfectly, his time was 52 seconds, which meant there was still so much room for improvement. Vulpic used this newfound knowledge to bring the record down to 58 seconds himself briefly before Zlaze took it right back at 57 seconds. But again, it wasn't very long before Pling, yes, Pling, the very first person to ever submit a time, took the record back with a time of 56.8 seconds, and he did it by using a gate to break through all of the fences that you were supposed to animation cancel through. You see, if you're surrounded by fences and gates and everything, Stardew kind of freaks out and it just deletes something for you to make sure you don't get soft locked in somewhere. So people were using this to get a gate earlier on in the run, which they were then later using to just spam click through my beautiful animation cancel section at the very end. Pling also mentioned at the time that it might be faster to get the jade from the left side since there were less end tables because of the word speed. Pling used all of this knowledge to bring the time down to 54.6 seconds, and that was it for the optimizations. From here on out, it was just down to who could do this the best. Zlaze brings the record down to 54.5 seconds, Ping brings it down to 54.3 seconds, but in the final hour of the competition on the 15th of November, 2021, Zlaze achieved this run. So with that, Zlaze wins the $100 Steam gift card. Thank you so much to everyone who did this. This was a ton of fun. I think there's a huge amount of potential for custom Stardew Valley maps that is just entirely untapped. And this was a ton of fun, so I hope that you guys had fun catching up with this competition. Maybe you ran it. If you want to, the link is in the description down below. You can still attempt this for yourself. Let me know what time you get. Thank you, and peace.